Hello and welcome to Craving Creativity Club. This is the first video of the Changing Seasons project, and before we begin, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what Craving Creativity Club is all about. The club is aimed at anyone who's looking for a bit more creativity in their lives, but especially teenagers, maybe home-educated teenagers or schooled teenagers who are just wanting to get a little bit more out of the art that they're making. But really for just about anyone who's interested in making art. The aim is to move you from a starting point, learn a little bit about the art history and art theory around a subject, um, and leading then on to an ending point where you will make a final piece of work. Each project is 10 weeks long, and you can follow along on YouTube by checking the videos every Wednesday for the next 10 weeks. If you want a little bit more out of Craven Creativity Club, you might also consider joining the membership on my website at www.elainastora.uk. If you do that, you'll get extra resources such as PDFs and printables to go with the activities that are shown on YouTube. You'll get blog articles and access to any live sessions that I run, plus discount for Zoom mentorship if that's something that you're interested in. Not only that, with your membership, you'll get weekly email giving you an update about what's coming over the next week for each project, where you can find the videos and where you can find further resources. I should say that if you do subscribe to my membership and you want to get the emails, please make sure that you click that you accept marketing. Otherwise, GDPR doesn't let me send you any emails at all. Membership through the website is free up until the end of 2025, after which point it will be £5 a month. However, founding members will have the option to keep a free membership for as long as they remain members. You can find this at www.elainastora.uk. Scroll down just a little bit until you see the Craven Creativity logo and click on it. And now let's learn a little bit about Edith Holden.
Holden was born on 26th of September 1871 to Arthur and Emma Holden. Arthur was a Birmingham factory owner who spent much of his time supporting the less well-off around him, especially working to improve the lives of impoverished children. The family valued the good education of both boys and girls, filling their home with books and poetry, which both parents regularly read aloud from, and encouraged visits to exhibitions and museums in the nearby city of Birmingham and further afield. Edith's middle name, Blackwell, was after the physician Elizabeth Blackwell, who was an American relative of theirs. Emma Holden had previously been a governess and, despite being ill for most of her children's lives, educated them herself at home until each was at least 12 years old. At that time, home education was common for middle and upper class families and often lent heavily on an exploration of nature. The children kept journals of the things they found outdoors, using them to practice the motor and observational skills required for drawing, as well as learning to write by annotating their work and copying poetry into their books. Edith loved to draw and paint, and at 13 entered the Birmingham Municipal School of Art, where she studied 3 mornings a week. Here she excelled and took advantage of various visitors of practising artists to extend her learning. Sadly, almost all her oil paintings have been lost from this period and beyond, including her first exhibited painting, a cosy quartet, which was shown at the Royal Birmingham Society of Artists Autumn Exhibition. Edith was just 19 at this point, and she and her family were delighted to attend the private viewing of the exhibition. The following year, Edith's tutors recommended her for a programme of study with Joseph Denevan Adam, an artist who worked near Stirling in Scotland. She spent a year living with Adam and his wife and family and drawing and painting the wildlife of Scotland. She got on well with the family and returned often to Stirling to visit and paint more. She also began taking holidays to Dartmoor to gather inspiration, where she stayed with the Travern family. Here she supported the children of the family to make art as well, taking walks together and practicing their drawing skills, as well as teaching them some French. In 1906, Edith agreed to teach art at a private school run by a friend of hers, leading to the creation of her famous book of nature notes, which later became the country diary of an Edwardian lady. For her lessons, she would bring a seasonal specimen for the students to draw, which she found on her cycling and walking adventures in the local area. The students were allowed to add watercolour to their sketches once she had agreed the drawing was accurate. They were also expected to add suitable poetry and passages from literature, as well as make their own sketches at home. Holden's country diary was probably made as an exemplar journal that she shared with her students. There is another similar book by her that was less finished and is now published as Nature Notes. From 1907, Edith began illustrating for a magazine published by the Animals' Friends, a society that later became the Royal Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. This work began with a part-work calendar that was published each month, and then she went on to paint images for postcards to be sold by the charity, as well as illustrating some of their books and pamphlets. Her illustration work, which also included the children's poetry book Woodland Whisperings by Margaret Rankin and a children's natural history book Animals Around Us, led her to regular visits to London. Here her now married sister lived, and she met Ernest Smith, an upcoming sculptor. They married in June 1911 despite Edith's father's disapproval and moved to a flat in Chelsea. After her marriage, Edith no longer exhibited work, although she continued drawing and painting her illustrations. She also supported her husband's brother, Frederick, by helping him to promote his work. However, little is known of her married life. On Monday, the 15th of March 1920, Edith complained of a headache before Ernest left for work, and this is perhaps why she took a walk down to the river at Kew, a place she visited often. It seems she attempted to hook some chestnut buds from over the river with her umbrella, slipped and fell in. When Ernest returned home that evening, he assumed she was out with friends and did not expect her home. The next morning at 6 a.m, her body was found drowned. This is my copy of The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden. And there's so much in it that I'd really like to show you. I've managed to just choose some of my favourite pages. Let's start here. I do love a good crinkly leaf. And as you can see, this is the January pages with the dead leaves of elm, oak, beech, chestnut and sycamore. And she has included some beautifully copied out poetry that's linked to the leaves. Really like these pictures that are included that are more than just specimen pictures. They group the wildlife and plants of the season together, so you can kind of see them interacting together. And I really like that the snowdrops here, she's also writing about what she has seen. So it says that in the garden of Packwood Hall and joining the churchyard, the borders are full of large clumps of single snowdrops. I brought away a great bunch, probably for her class that she was teaching at that point. And the things that she's writing about as part of her journal are also the things that she is sketching. I love that she's seen this nest and she's not just sketched the nest and the eggs, although she does have some close-up images of eggs. She's also shown the situation of the nest, how the blackbird has placed it in a hedgerow. And then we do have these specimen pages that are much more like a scientific specimen page, but we still have these little inclusions where the creatures and the wildlife, the plants, they're interacting together. I love these little bunches of summer flowers that look like just like how you might find them out in the wild at the base of a hedgerow.
I couldn't not include her drawing of a starling, which is my favourite bird, and I love that it's in my birthday month as well. And this collection of seed heads I thought was very relevant for our current project. Might be something that maybe inspires you to have a go at drawing it this week. And the last thing that she's included is actually a list of all the wildflowers in the book that she's found in her area and the wild birds in her area, just listed out. She's got them in alphabetical order because this is a plan book, but you might want to, if you were to do a journal like this, you might want to just include them as you see them. Yeah, so that is Edith Holden's Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady.
Edith Holden's mother, Emma, was probably trained as a teacher in the manner that Charlotte Mason recommended in the mid-1800s, which included a strong emphasis on nature journaling for younger children in particular. This was probably the backbone of Edith's own education, leading to her interest in the natural world and encouraging her artistic ability. The Victorians had been very interested in natural history as scientific curiosity grew. However, most people could not afford the expensive equipment required for much scientific study, but the natural world was open and available to all. This interest and exploration continued into the Edwardian period and persists now in the form of the modern citizen scientist. Now we can record our findings on the internet or through an app, but then tracking and documentation was recorded in a journal. The natural world has always been available for artists of all kinds to practice their skill in observation and accurate drawing. I'd like to inspire you to try some sketching of a few specimens from your garden or local park or woodland. You could do this in your sketchbook, or you could even start your own nature journal. If you're interested in learning about other nature journalists, you could investigate some of these. The Reverend Gilbert White was documenting the natural comings and goings of his parish in Selborne before nature journaling even became trendy in the 1700s. Henry David Thoreau was in America in 1845, living alone for 2 years in a hut on the edge of Walden Pond. Here he catalogued the natural world he observed, leading to his book Life in the Woods. Sir Edward and Lady Dorothy Gray were creating their cottage book at about the same time Edith Holden was drawing her nature notes. This was a book kept at the country cottage in Hampshire they used for weekends and holidays, where they made notes on the flora and fauna in the area. More modern nature journals might include John Muir Laws, named after the American naturalist John Muir. Laws has published various books on drawing and documenting the natural world and has a very successful YouTube channeling about the same. Claire Walker Leslie has also published various books on nature and nature journaling. You might also be interested in Giacomina Ferrillo, the botanical artist who shows pages of her nature journals on Instagram. Lara Corgastinger is also known on Instagram for her Perpetual Nature Journal, a book with a page for each week of the year. Every year she draws one new item for each week, gradually building up a vision of the progression of seasons throughout the year.
Thanks for watching the video, and I hope you've enjoyed learning a bit about Edith Holden. And maybe you're inspired to have a go at doing some sketchbook work a little like hers. If you have enjoyed watching, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you have a moment, please do drop me a comment. I answer every comment, and it also helps the algorithms notice that I'm here, and hopefully we can build a really great community. That's all for now. I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week.